I am so excited and so honored to be a part of tonight's episode. We get to pay tribute to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Someone who, when I was a kid, I idolized, and when I was a wrestler, I emulated. I'm talking about the one and only British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. And joining us tonight is his daughter, Georgia Smith. Georgia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Finally, we've had to figure out a couple of times with interviewing, but now we're here. We're doing it. So thank you for having me. I don't really do podcasts or interviews often, so I'm glad that we're doing this.
I am too. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Although I will tell you this: your dad was a part of a very traumatic episode as me as a child in 1987 when those No Good Heart Foundation beat the British Bulldogs for the tag team titles. I was in probably 7th grade, inconsolable for that weekend. Miserable, destroyed that weekend.
Man, I thought you were going to say when Matilda was stolen from the Islanders for a second.
I tell you, we were just at a convention. My buddy runs 80s Con, and Tama. We all went when the convention was over. Some of us went out to eat, and Tama from the Islanders. We were all at Denny's, and he was like next to us. And someone whispered to me, he goes, "Should I ask him what they did with Matilda?"
I saw him at last year. So I had shown him my puppy Matilda, and he said that these days we couldn't do that storyline.
A lot of storylines you can't do these days. All right, so let's start off with this. Let's connect the dots for your dad's side of the family, because you always hear about the Hart family. Everyone knows, your mother was a Hart, your uncle's Bret Hart, your uncle's Owen Hart. Tell me about your dad's side of the family. I'd like to hear about that.
Okay, so my dad is the second of 4, if you heard that.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so my dad is the second of 4. He had an older brother named Terrence who passed away in December 2020. And then it was my dad, born in 1962. And then my dad had a sister named Tracy, who you guys know from the One Night Only, who took him down to the ring. She's no longer alive, but she was the third. And then my Aunt Joanne, she's still alive. I saw her last month at Clash of the Castle. So it's a 4. Terrence and my dad were kind of close in age. And then there was like a kind of an age gap because Tracy was born in 72 or 3. And then Joanne was born in 74, 75. So about the time when Joanne was getting older, probably like in I don't know, 10, 11, 12, that's would have been when my dad went to Canada for wrestling, for Stampede Wrestling. So, a lot of the stuff she had seen was my dad on TV and when he'd come back to England and visit. But yeah, that's pretty much them over there. And then my grandfather, Sid, my dad's dad, he's still alive, Sid Smith. First name is Francis Sidney Smith. And he is 83, turned 83 in July. And I just saw him at Clash of the Castle. So there's not really a whole lot of us left over there, unfortunately. But yeah, that's it.
Did you get a chance to go over there at all?
I got to go to England last month, or to Great Britain, for Clash of the Castle for the pay-per-view in Wales, in Cardiff. So that was pretty cool. I got to see my family, my granddad, Joanne, my cousin Shelby, Joanne's daughter. And before that, I saw them. I did a wrestling convention in April for the Love of Wrestling at the end of April. So I got to see them and stay for the week there. So I try to see them as much as I can. Obviously, during COVID, I couldn't really see them at all. But there was a bit of time. And then unfortunately, they were supposed to come down here for the WrestleMania in the Hall of Fame in 2020 in Tampa. But then that got postponed till 2021. And the travel system was still not quite, they couldn't really come. And it was just a lot. And my grandfather's health it's kind of deteriorating. So if I can go over there and see him and do that rather than him traveling, because it's very hard for him to travel now, I can. But it was really good to see them in Cardiff. Joanne and them, they'd never been to Cardiff, so that was really cool. I had never properly been there before either. I lived in England for 5 years too, but I did see Brett speak like somewhere in Wales years ago, but that was it. But yeah, they did honoring the SummerSlam. It was the 30th anniversary there, so it was just really nice and positive. And I'm glad WWE got to invite me out there. And I did the Clash of the Castle Superstore. for WWE there, and I had my dad's exhibit, and fans came and saw it. I had my dad's some of his clothing, his memorabilia on some mannequins, and people got to see it in person and take pictures, and I got to interact with fans, and it was really cool. It was a bit warm. England was going through a heat wave. Store had no air conditioning, so that was, the fans know what I'm talking about there. It was a bit of a challenge, but it was overall just really cool. So, and I'm glad my family, they got to see it, because, obviously it's kind of sad, obviously, that my dad's not here and wasn't able to be there in person for it, but it was just really cool to honor and to represent him and to showcase all of his stuff there and his career and celebrate him, because they couldn't come here for Hall of Fame. So it was like a makeup for that.
That's awesome. Well, what are your first memories of your dad wrestling? Like, do you remember watching him on TV when you were a kid? I'm trying to get a time frame in mind of like when you started watching or remember watching.
Well, I can't really like pinpoint exactly, but I just know that like in my early years, like in Calgary, so obviously like before I was like 3-4 years old, or like around that time, a little before that, because we moved to Tampa in 91, so I was about 4. In like my very early years, when my dad would come home, I would refer to him as Davey. And that was because he was Davey on TV. He was always like, oh, Davey Boy Smith, Davey. That's who, because he wasn't really home that much, obviously. So I would just see him and he was Davey. And then when he'd come home, my mom would say Davey, and my family, my uncles would say Davey. And that's just what Harry and I called him. He was never dad. So sometimes on social media, people would be like, why don't you call him, dad? Was he not your dad? I'm like, well, clearly he's my dad. I look like him. He is my father. We don't need Maury for that test, but I know as Davey from TV. So that's like going back to when I was like 2-3 years old. And then I just remember I was about 3 or 4 years old, going to the WrestleMania 7 when my dad was against Warlord.
Yes.
And Don stuff was there. I remember it was somewhere in Los Angeles that arena was at. And I remember being there in person, and I remember helping my dad walk Winston from the car into the arena. I remember that. And Winston didn't want to if anybody knows a bulldog, they're stubborn and don't really want to walk anywhere unless they trust the person. So Winston didn't really want to walk. And I remember my dad took the leash, and he was like, oh, followed my dad right in, because he knew my dad. So I remember that. And I remember my mom got me a bunch of like Disney toys in there. And then I think that's when I met Willie Nelson in there, and I got to go into his like tour bus and stuff with my mom. So that was pretty cool. But that was probably like my earliest like wrestling memory. And then in Canada, when I would see him on TV. So, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, that's probably the time frame I would remember. And I remember being at Wembley Stadium for SummerSlam 92. I do remember like bits and pieces of that. I remember going there, and I remember seeing the show. I remember bits of the hotel, the arena, the train ride there, seeing Paul Bearer, Undertaker, at catering and stuff. So I would say around 90, 91, 92.
That's funny. Yeah. In the case of Georgia Smith, Davey, you are the father, right? Right?
You
the Maury test. So what was it like as a child being in such a wrestling family? I had Paul Orndorff's son on. I sent you that clip. We did a tribute to Paul, and it was just his dad. It's your mom. Now it's your brother. It's your aunts. It's your uncles. It's your cousins. Like, what was it like in school being Dave? I mean, the guy next to you, his dad's a banker. The girl next to you, her mom's works the bank. Your mom is Diana Hart, and your dad's the British Bulldog. I mean, what was that like as a kid?
It was actually really fun. And a lot of kids and stuff didn't believe me that was my dad. And once they would see him, they'd be like, whoa. And then they'd, all line up for an autograph, or be like, can you give me a suplex, or can you power bomb me or something? My dad's like, no, I don't want a lawsuit today. But yeah, I remember that in Florida. And I remember like my mom and dad had the Shawn Michaels, like that storyline or whatever. Luckily, like, children didn't really bother me too much about that. Like, isn't your mom like with your dad, and what's Shawn Michaels? What's going on? Nothing. Well, luckily I wasn't harassed or anything about that. But Some kids, like, it was kind of difficult because some of them didn't want to give me like the time of day, didn't want to be like, you know, I wasn't considered cool or anything, or I don't know. I was never like super popular or anything. But once they knew who my dad was, then it would be like, oh, she can go and join our group, or she can be a part of our team or whatever. She's okay. Or be like, oh, can we get an autograph from your dad? It was always a little incentive like that. So I had a lot of that all throughout school. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like at the parent teacher interviews, you know, you see my dad with the fanny pack and the sweatpants and the bodybuilding and sitting there, and you see all the other dads and parents and the teachers are like, whoa. And yeah, kids would be like, oh my God, it's the British Bulldog. I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah. And like also as well, it was kind of hard in school too, because a lot of people would be like, well, what your dad does is fake. So that I didn't really appreciate that too much, because like I'd see my dad come home, you know, riddled with injuries and, you know, be very, very exhausted and stuff. So I didn't really care for that. But other than that, it was always very, very positive. You know, my dad made, you know, going to school fun. And when he dropped me off or picked me up, you know, everybody would be really excited. And, you know, I didn't see my dad often, as I mentioned to you, but it would be really cool when he would like surprise and pick me up, or, you know, check me out early and spend time with me, or take us to a movie or something. And that's what he did not too long before he died. He surprised me at school and picked me up. And I was in the middle of like the home economics class, and I made a crepe. It was like the first crepe I made, and I had it in like the little paper plate. And I said, I don't know if you want it. And he ate it. And he said, do you have another one? And I was like, no, but I was quite pleased with that. And, you know, he picked me up and we saw a movie, and we had a driving lesson and stuff. So yeah, lots of good memories.
What was it like going anywhere with your dad? Like if I was like, you know, 12 and I was at Applebee's and I look over and there's your dad, I might have a heart attack as a kid. What was that like for you, being the daughter and everyone else wanting to be around your dad?
It sometimes got a little too much. Obviously, like it was all I knew growing up. Like I knew he was always going to stop. I knew people were going to recognize him and stuff, because that was, you know, you can't miss him. It's not hard to miss, especially when he had the braids and everything. But sometimes like people would like follow him to the bathroom and like wait outside his stall and stuff, which I thought was like a little too like, guys, can you just like leave him? Like people would follow him or like wait, like hide in the corner and then like want to like ambush him for an autograph and stuff. And my dad was always very nice though. I only maybe saw him like twice, maybe like one time say he couldn't give an autograph. And that was, my brother Harry had a wrestling meet, and you know, my dad, he had just kind of started with WCW in 1998, and he had some more time off, as you guys know, and that was one of the reasons why he left WCW, was because they guaranteed him more money and more time off. So he had more time off, and he came to my brother's wrestling meet in Calgary, and it was like a competition or something, and we were already late. And like this like swarm of kids like came and wanted like autograph, picture. My dad said, just let me watch my son, and I'll talk to you guys after. And these kids, oh, they were butt hurt. They were super, super pissed off. And they were like, blah, 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 and like saying all these things about my dad. And like, I remember being like 11. And I remember that like really annoyed me, because my dad, like, he didn't say or do anything wrong, but you know, and my dad said, this just comes with the territory. He said, you can't make everybody happy. He said, if I were to stay there, he said, I would have been there all night and I would have missed this. I was like, yeah, that's true. He was like, so it is what it is type of thing. And I remember when going to McDonald's with him, like it was early in the morning again, running late for school. And he got me like the sausage egg McMuffin, and the guy gave him the paper bag and he's like, you're the British Bulldog. And my dad's like, oh no, I'm not. I get that all the time. No. Why did you say that? He's like, I'm running late, not today. I was like, okay. But that was like it. Like the only times I ever thought.
I know this is about your dad, but I got to ask you, can you tell me anything about your grandpa? I find your grandpa to be like such a fascinating guy. I as you know, I had I guess you'd call him your cousin-in-law, TJ.
Mm-hmm.
TJ, your cousin? Yeah, I had him on the show, and I asked him some Stu stories. Anything you could share about your grandpa?
My grandpa, he was a really, really good cook. Every Sunday dinner, he would always cook the dinners and stuff for all the people, all the kids. And then my Aunt Georgia, my cousin Ted's mom, she eventually took it over. She's actually like a top chef. But my grandpa was really good with that. I don't know. Like, there's so many stories. I don't really know like where to begin. My grandfather was very, it's not like really funny, but he was just very like, he wanted to make sure like if he was watching Harry and I or my other cousins or whoever was staying there that way, we always ate. And I remember like he got me some oatmeal and my parents were gone and he didn't want to have the oatmeal not eaten. So he like sat there for, I don't know, I really took my time with it. I must have been like 4 or 5 years old, but he sat there and made sure I ate it. Because, you know, my grandfather grew up with like no food and like having to hunt his food and stuff. So food was very, very, I was telling somebody that a couple days ago. So he never like wanted food to be taken for granted. And when you had 12 kids and a wrestling promotion and things to do, it was like, he was always on the go. So it was like, here's your meal. You know, he didn't want anybody going hungry. So I remember he was always like really good with the food and making sure everybody was eating and made sure everybody ate, nothing was wasted. And I remember as well, when I was visiting, I must have been like 7 or 8 years old and I had a crayon and I was coloring and it broke, it snapped in half. And I was like devastated because like, I think my mom just got me these and I took it to my grandfather who was in his office and he just like, he had his glasses on and he got some tape and like, he perfectly like sealed it and it was like brand new. And I never forgot that because he's got like the big, you know, meaty, veiny, vascular hands and he was just very delicate and then, you know, he used to do my grandma's hair and stuff and putting the curlers in. And my grandfather had a really, really good eye for like decorating and detail and had very, very, very good taste, you know, no matter if he like wasn't doing so good with money or he was doing better with money. You saw every time you were in the Hart house, like every detail, everything was like all him, like even from like the plates and the ceilings, like and tile and backsplash, that was all my grandfather. So, I mean, a lot of people don't know that because they just think, you know, with the wrestling and stuff, but they had very good taste. And I think that's where I get it from because I have very, I try not to, but I try to always have like nice things. I don't care if I go to like the thrift store or anything, if anything kind of nice catches my eye. Not trying to point the obvious or anything. Obviously people will get what they want, but yeah, I think I get my good taste from him. And my brother, I think he gets his cooking stuff from him because Harry loves to cook and make sushi. I don't know if you guys knew that or saw that, but he makes really good food too. So just, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of your dad's big time matches. I mean, you mentioned Wembley Stadium. I mean, that's a tough one to beat. That was a classic. Are there any matches that you watched fondly of your dad or come to mind?
You know, what's funny is like, you know, obviously he had like these historical, you know, record breaking, amazing matches early in his career. But, you know, lately when I've been posting and showing stuff from like the anniversary of like, from like 99 or 2000 and stuff, I'm seeing a lot of things that I'd never seen before. And obviously, you know, my dad was like pushing to 40 and he had a lot of injuries and stuff. And he wasn't who he was like back in like the late 90s and stuff. But for everything that he endured and what he was dealing with, he was still like, my dad could still put on a match. You know, I see the matches with like him and The Rock, and I posted one with like him and Mick Foley. He had one from Rebellion, I think it was, with him and 1-2-3 Kid or X-Pac. And like, you just see how he moves. And for the size that he was, he could still move like he was smaller. And I think that was from all the time of him training and stuff as when he was younger as a teenager and how he could flip and be very versatile. But even when with his bad back, I was watching his stuff in the late 90s and it was really, really impressive. Like he had a match, I think his last match was with Eddie Guerrero and Midian. And I was always really impressed with him. I mean, I'm sure these aren't going to be like popular opinions and why did he wear jeans, but just looking back, now I really appreciate what he did, and I give him a lot of credit for that. So obviously I think those are really cool, and I think like The Rock and these other people, they brought out a different side to him. I think compared to when he was like in the 90s and stuff. And let me see. So there was that. And he's just always, even The Rock, when he wrestled him, when he was Rocky Maivia in 97, that was a really, really good match. And him and Shawn Michaels, I mean, they always, regardless if Shawn always won or he always got over or whatever with Davey, those two had very, very, very good matches and brought out the best in each other as well. And, him and Brett, they always had great matches. And I'm going to rewatch again, since the holidays are coming up, is that 95 In Your House with him and Brett, when they like blood was drawn and stuff. That was a really, really good match. You didn't know what was going to happen. And like, just going back and looking at when my dad, when he like flipped into the turnbuckles, and like there was a point where he landed on his head, and my mom said she was there in person and she thought he like legitimately like broke his neck or something. So, but my dad knew, like him and Brett knew what they were doing. Obviously accidents can happen in there, but they were professionals, but they just made everything look very, very, very real and intense. So yeah, I mean, I can't really pinpoint and say I didn't really care about that match about my dad. I think, I'm biased. I enjoy all of his matches, in the 90s and the 2000s, and even his last match that he had with my brother Harry in 2002. Still could do it.
Davey and Owen had a hell of a match for the European title when he won the tournament finals. That was a great match. I was on Raw. Unbelievable match.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say that one too. I had like other matches like floating in my head, but yeah, that one very, very, very good. That's like in my top matches as well. And as well, like the acrobatic, the just how they moved and everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that these days, but definitely, I wish we could have that back. I wish we could go back in time and see that again in person.
Your dad and Owen always seem like they're having a blast. Were they really close outside the ring?
Oh, yeah, they were really, really close. They were. And, actually, like Owen, when my dad was in the hospital and stuff, Owen was like the main family member that came and visited my dad the most. And when my dad returned to WWF in the 99, Owen was the one that got that going. Owen was the one that, orchestrated that and was like, Owen was like, I'm just kind of going to do this and retire in the next, I don't know, it was like a few years or whatever. But he was like, I think you should go back and you were happier here. And my dad's like, yeah. And my dad wasn't feeling like too great about things, in a hospital bed. And Owen was like, well, I'll tell you what, like, let's get this going. And so he called Vince in the hospital room, and they got it going right then and there. I don't know if I'm sure some people know about that, but Owen always tried to look out for people and give the shirt off his back, and always tried to help whoever he could, and just wanted everybody to be happy type of thing. So but that was really, really generous and good of Owen to do that. And I know my dad really, really appreciated it at the time. And if we were in another world, I'm sure things would have been different. It would have been great to see Owen and Davey back in 99 being a tag team again and being together. I can only imagine.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do you think your dad is so fondly remembered? Because there's wrestlers who, there are people on the fence, people, even, after they passed away, they people aren't always in love with the wrestler. Your dad is universally loved. I mean, I've never heard anyone say anything bad about your dad, a fan, a wrestler. For me, it was, number one, he was a body guy, but he was also an athlete. So it was such a hybrid style that when I started wrestling, I was like, I want to be like the British Bulldog. And number two, for me, he had a face that just was so warm and welcoming. I'm like, I want to hang out with this guy. So not only do I want to wrestle like this guy, not only do I want to look like this guy, I want to hang out with this guy. That's what it was for me as a fan. What did you say? Why is your dad so fondly remembered by everybody?
I think, like you said, like he was the total package. And I think he just had like the qualities. It wasn't like, oh, he lacked here, wasn't good here. He was, like you said, he was the total package. He was just such a talent. And I think, he did so much in such a little amount of time. I mean, like when you look back at his career, you would have thought that, Davey, everything he did, it was like, 100 years or something. But he did so much, just looking back. And, you look back and you see, he was always evolving too. From like the British Bulldogs, he had a look, and then to the early 90s, he had a look, and then the mid 90s, he had a look. The short hair, curly hair. He was always changing and always trying to be better. And he was just, I don't know, he was just one of a kind, and just such a hard worker. And not just that, but just he was just such a good person. And I think that's a lot that people, fans take away from him too. Like you said, when fans meet him, they always have a very positive, good experience. But like, it's just crazy. Like you said, to this day, like I'm just looking at some of my dad's memorabilia and his Hall of Fame stuff. He's still like, he's no longer with us, but the legacy that he had, that he created, and that he worked for, and everything, it will never die. And and that's just his social media page is just proof of that. And I feel like as well that his social media page has helped him, because it's like a portal for everybody to see Davey, who he was in the ring, outside the ring, as a father. And I think that really helps people as well. And, you can see that he's got over 100,000 followers there. And that's kind of like unheard of. Like, I don't know, but that's just from all the fans and all the love that we had for him and the legacy that he had. The only other page that I know that's really, really popular like that is Bruce Lee. And coincidentally, him and my dad have the same birthday.
Oh, nice.
But it's like the same thing with him. It was like Bruce Lee was only like 28 or something. No, 32, I think Brandon Lee was 28 when he died. Bruce Lee was 32. But you look back and you think that he prolonged that with everything that you see and what he did. And I don't want to keep saying legacy, but I can't think of the word, but what he left behind. So I like to compare my dad to him too. And I hope someday Bruce Lee's page can follow my dad's page back. That would mean a lot, or do some kind of like collaboration of those two, like the Dragon and the Bulldog or something. Maybe it's too far-fetched, but and they're both had a son and a daughter, and I don't know. I get ideas like that, but yeah. He was just one of a kind. Just a talent. Have we ever seen like another Davey Boy Smith? Or do you think we'll ever see another Davey Boy Smith? Like, no, exactly.
No, definitely not. We'll have guys with bodies. We'll have guys with bodies like him. We'll have guys with athleticism like him. We'll have baby faces like him, heels, but you can't take all those parts and pieces and put them into one wrestler. No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he touched like so many people too, and impacted so many people's lives. Like, it's crazy. When I did that show, or that store in Cardiff, I mentioned the Clash of the Castle store. I had so many people, and young and old. And I'm very, very grateful that, WWE, they have him on the Peacock network, and people can watch him and look back on his matches, and there's YouTube. But I had like kids like 7 years old. They're like, that's the British Bulldog. Oh my God, that's the British Bulldog. And I had older people. I had people just like very, very emotional when they saw everything. And I was like, well, this is what it's about. Like, this is, where I would want to always continue and honor what he did. Because I feel like his time was cut short, and if he was here, he'd be doing so much. So just try to continue to keep it going, and do whatever I can for his fans and stuff. And I just really, really appreciate them. I had such a positive experience. Whenever I do conventions or things and meet fans, and they tell me what my dad meant to them, and there was one guy and he said, your dad, I was going to kill myself. And I watched something of his and I don't know, something about him made me stop. And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
That was
unbelievable.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to dismiss anything that they were saying. I don't see why they would make it up, but I just was like, whoa, like it's crazy.
Last thing I want to ask you is, how do you want your dad to be remembered? How do you want the fans to remember? And how do you remember your dad?
I don't want to give just like a vague answer. I just feel like if you guys follow what I do with his social media and see what I share and what I post and what the stories I tell about my dad, I just want them, because he was a wrestler, but he was my dad first and foremost. He was David Smith, and he was, he was somebody else outside of wrestling as well. I mean, obviously he was most known for that, but I just want people to see who I saw. And if I can do that by his page and share that, I just want people to be like, oh, wow. He was so cool. And I had no idea, like Davey liked motorcycles and jet skis. And, Davey liked, seeing movies, and Davey wanted to be in movies. And, there was things he wanted to do too after wrestling. It's a shame that it never happened, but, and I want to just continue keeping everything with him growing and going. And I think it will. And I'm just very, very thankful that, I've had people along with this journey and following the page. And whatever I post and share, I just want people to continue to follow that and to support him. Because that's what it's about. And I still have a lot of stuff that people haven't seen. And there's things coming up that I can't announce yet that are coming. So yeah, I don't think he'll ever be forgotten, and I'm going to make sure he's not forgotten. That's for sure. And with me personally, I don't know. I'm very, very stubborn and persistent, and I want my dad to always get the credit and the recognition that he deserves, because I feel like he doesn't get enough of that. And I feel like my dad, was underrated in a lot of things, and he didn't get the recognition or the acknowledgement or credit that he deserved and deserves. So I'm going to be that vessel and that person and that representation to keep that going and to try to push Davey to like beyond. And, maybe someday we'll have a Davey Boy Smith movie or something. Maybe we'll have a Davey Boy Smith beer. Maybe we'll have a Davey Boy Smith coffee. Maybe we'll have a British Bulldog clothing line. Maybe we'll have British Bulldog workout equipment. I don't know, but I feel like these are things that he would have wanted, and I'm here to push that. And I don't care who I have to talk to or anything, like Roots of Fight, for instance. I would love to, and I've been denied a Davey line with them a couple of times, but I'm going to still keep trying, because I think my dad deserves to have something. I think that would be really cool to have an athlete, a British athlete, be a part of it. And there's just some other things that I want to do. And I feel like his page, it's very therapeutic for me, because I'm posting something about him every day. And it's weird because people are like, oh, your dad's page and your dad. And, with how he's brought up and showcased and everything, you'd think that Davey was still alive with how busy his legacy is and his social media. And when they refer to his page and like, oh, your dad's page. And I don't know, it just kind of warms my heart a bit, because it's like, he's still being kept alive by me and the fans. So
Let's talk about that page. Let everybody know how to find you. Talk about that awesome jersey you're wearing.
Yes. So that's very, very astute point. So this is a jersey, and it is available at Mess Buckets Comics. And as you can see, it's got white sleeves, this one, but it comes in 3 colors. It comes in white, comes in blue, and comes in red. And this one, I'm wearing the white today. And now that the weather has cooled off a bit in Tampa, I just love wearing this all the time, and the other ones. And then as you can see here, which is really cool, we got the Hart Foundation logo. This logo's on like the Hart Foundation Pro Wrestling tees. So Pro Wrestling tees, they let the company use it for that. And then on the back of it, it's got, I think you can pick the name that you want on the back of it, but mine says Bulldog and 87 on the back.
Come on, we're selling jerseys here. Show the back. Come on.
Oh,
Let's see the back. Come on. There we go.
You
Oh,
see
that's
it?
awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Tell us again where to find it. Is it a website? You said the name.
To messbucketcomics.com, or if you just Google Mess Bucket Comics, it will come up.
MES? Mess?
Yeah. Like I made a mess. Mess Bucket Comics. So
MESS.
Yeah, MESS. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mess Bucket Comics. And you can get this jersey there. You can also get signed posters. So me, Harry, my mom, the artist, and the writer, the creator of my dad's upcoming comic. So my dad's going to be featured in the comic book. It's all done and everything. I've seen the finished artwork. It looks really, really cool. They actually did a Roddy Piper one before that. So this is like following that. And we've got posters of my dad on it. It's got like a little Matilda Bulldog. Matilda looks like a little zombie or something, but my dad's in like a full superhero outfit, and he's like, looks like he's in some city that's in ruins or something, but it's really cool. And he's got the braids and everything, but we all signed the posters of it. So you can get that. That's on sale there. And this is on sale. And I'll let you guys know when the comics are out. And also they've created a sculpture, like a limited sculpture that you can get of my dad. It's super, super cool. I actually have my dad's bobblehead up there, very similar to that, but he's shown me the finished stuff of it, but I can't show it until it's all done. The box and packaging for it looks so cool. So I think my dad's fans are going to be very, very pleased with it. This is definitely like a collector's item, from the jerseys, the comic books, the posters. And I saw the one Harry, me, my mom, and I signed. There's 2 left in stock. So get it while you can. And then they've got other ones too that you can get. So you'll just have to check what's in stock for it.
Tell us the Instagram page.
Yes. So my dad's Instagram page, it's at the British Bulldog WWE, and you can check that out. I try to post things daily content, pictures, matches or anniversary of matches. I've been running this page since early January. I think it was January 7th or 9th of 2019. So it's been a few years I've been doing this, nearly 4. So yeah, definitely check it out. He does have a Facebook as well, and it's facebook.com / the British Bulldog. I'm nearly at 30,000 followers. So if you guys follow it, we can get that to 30. And Twitter. And Twitter's been a bit funny with me lately because I'm sure you know, his account was hacked, and they hacked the Twitter. And so sometimes the Twitter likes to lock me out. Super fun. And they took away my dad's verification, but I'm working on it. But the Twitter is still going. I'm still running it, still posting. And it is at _ Davey Boy Smith. So for whatever reason, if you don't see me post there for a long period of time, is because Twitter has locked me out.
If you see anything funky, it means she got hacked again.
It means I got hacked. It's not me. Yeah, if you requested, you want a PS5 from me, that's not me.
Georgia, this was a lot of fun. When I think of your dad, I smile. I hope other people are going to watch this and smile. I hope you enjoyed this, because I really, really did. This was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Sorry if I just like blabbed on and on and on. I hope, I hope you enjoy it. And oh, by the way, these braids, they're like coming out like tomorrow. So it's a good thing I talked to you. I got them done for Clash of the Castle for the 30th anniversary, and they last 8 weeks. So I think like if it's this week, if it's not this week, it's next week. It's the 8th week, and these guys come out. So I'm glad we got to speak before you could see it.
That might be my next look. What do you think? You think I can pull it off?
I think you could definitely do it, and you could put some beard too.
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you guys for support and listening to me. And if you continue to share and baby stuff. I would really appreciate it. You know, maybe we can get him higher up on the list, and always tag and everything his page.
This has never happened before. We're live on location in the Moraldo family room, seconds after my Georgia Smith interview, and I got a call that we need to go back because she forgot to show us something. This is my daughter Sammy, by the way.
Yeah. I can just hear you a second ago.
Okay, perfect. Show us what you want to show us.
Aww. Here she is. She is carrying on Matilda Smith's legacy. She is Matilda Smith II. She is a registered AKC Kennel Club, and the first Matilda, she was registered too. So she is Matilda Smith II. And here she is, everybody.
Beautiful.
She's weighing at 53 pounds, needs a little diet. She loves her grandpa Davey.
She looks like a good girl.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Yay! Hip, hip. All right, we're going. All right. Jesus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Bye.